What's up guys, I'm Shane, welcome back to ReefTankTV. Just here to do a little update on the Red Sea Reefer XL200 for you guys. Obviously it's been a minute since I did an update on this tank, and man, a lot has changed. Honestly don't even really know where to start. The tank looks, as far as the main structure goes, basically the same as before, but obviously things have filled in. Added some things, lost a couple of things here along the way, but for the most part the tank has been smooth sailing the last 6 months to a year. Some of these SPS frags up at the top here that I planted a while ago are finally starting to fill in some of that open area, make that part of the tank look a little bit nicer. It looked pretty empty for a while. This tank is going to be actually just turned 2 years old in September, so you know, kind of hitting that point now where I consider it more of a mature reef tank, where things tend to get a little bit more stable, a little bit more easy than they tend to be in that first year, especially if you're using live rock versus dry rock. This tank was started with all dry rock, so it did take me a little bit longer to get things going than some of the tanks I've set up in the past with live rock, like a lot of the other tanks you guys have seen on this channel. But yeah, back to this tank. As I said, a lot has changed, a lot has filled in. Like you can see here, this is the original pink boobies chalice that I had on here. That thing has really taken off, and I've actually found that chalices and zoas seem to grow the best in the system for whatever reason. Having good luck with the SPS as far as coloration goes, but not a ton of growth. But yeah, overall coloration is looking good right now, probably better than it has been. I did start dosing some trace elements, the 4-part Red Sea package, about 2 months ago, and I have actually noticed some pretty good results as far as, especially with the zoas for whatever reason. It's just been bringing out a little bit richer, deeper colors. Although I am having some issues right now with some polyps being closed up. It started over here and worked its way down. Obviously, I would be looking for pests first. I've dealt with all types of zoa pests in the past, zoa eating nudibranchs a bunch of times, especially back in the day. What else? Zoa spiders, little bugs and stuff that get on there and you know, seem to mess with them. I haven't been able to pinpoint what is going on with these guys. I don't know if it's some type of fungus or something. I usually get in there just kind of as a general practice with zoas with the turkey baster whenever I'm in the tank, and just kind of blow them off, keep them free of debris. As you guys can see here, like the other colonies, you know, are doing fine. Other than this one up here, actually started to close up some polyps within the last 2 days as well. But I started noticing it with this one about a week and a half ago, so not exactly sure what's going on there. At this point, I have so many zoas in the tank, and they're just kind of grown everywhere. Like they grow onto the rocks next to them and stuff. So at this point, if I have a zoa pest in here, I mean, if it's not something the RAS can take care of, it's pretty much going to do what it's going to do. So I'm just kind of not worrying about it too much, not overreacting too much, being that I know it's not a tank parameter thing. The tank parameters have been stable and good for a while now. Everything else in the tank is looking good. As I said, a little bit later in the night tonight, what is it, 8:15, so lights are going to go off in an hour, so some things aren't quite as big and puffy as they would normally be, but still got the little Ghani garden going here. This yellow tipped one has definitely been the fastest grower. Started off with a small frag of that one, and that thing's about 3-4 inches now. And then started kind of a torch garden. I think I maybe had 1 or 2 up here in the last video. The original green one died. I got some kind of bacterial thing, some kind of jelly that just popped up overnight and got it. But that's the only torch I've lost in this tank. Everything else has been nice and healthy. This one over here I actually bought as a completely green torch with longer, stringier tentacles. Over time, it's gotten basically bright yellow with these shorter, stubbier tentacles. It did have some pretty bad tissue recession when I got it, and it's still not great, but it's been coming back slowly over time, so definitely enjoying that one. It's cool to see corals that you put them in your tank and they change color. Sometimes things can surprise you. Sometimes, you know, we always worry about the coral that loses color, but sometimes you throw something in the tank and it's you know, more than what you even thought you were getting in the first place, and that's kind of the pleasant surprise that I like. Definitely gonna have to start doing a little bit of trimming here soon on some of these. The Miyagi and the purple stylo are pretty much gonna be touching here in a minute. There's actually a Sunfire grafted cap back there too, which I put back there a long time ago and forgot about. It kind of got shaded out by the rest of this stuff, but in the last month or two I've kind of seen it popping out, and I don't know if it's getting brighter so I'm noticing it more, or it's just been growing. This Raja Rampage chalice over here I put in maybe 2 months ago. It only had those 3 eyes in the middle, and it's like quadrupled in size since then, so that one seems to be a really fast grower. Probably gonna have to frag it as it starts getting closer to the glass over here. But yeah, this part of the tank I really wasn't into for a long time. It took a long time to get this right. I had to do I had to restructure the aquascape over here on this one 3 or 4 times. This one I kind of got more the way I liked it straight from the get-go, so I tend to have a lot more going on over here. But in the last, I don't know, 6 months to maybe 9 months, this side has really filled in nicely, and it's actually become the side of the tank that I like the most. Ended up doing a little Zoa Island out here, some plate corals, tequila sunrise mushroom, got some more mushrooms over here, jawbreaker. I got this little tiny scully. This one here is really not very big either. It's only about 2.5 to 3 inches, but this guy here is like almost button scully size, but the regular Australian like bleeding apple type, which is kind of cool. Like that little guy a lot. Picked him up just because I never seen one that bright, that small. It's only about 1 inch, so got the little scully thing going on over there. A couple more SPS, shrooms, random things down here. Got the tiger torch up in the front. Really been enjoying this piece. This is another one that has colored up really nice since I put it in the system. And then this hammer back here is pretty sweet. It's got super like neon toxic green tips, but the stems are actually gold. It's kind of hard to pick it up on camera, but there is a nice contrast between them. I've never seen one like that before, so I was really into that one when I saw it come in. As far as fish additions, definitely added a lot of new fish since the last time we did this tank. These guys are probably my favorite right here, this Yasha Goby pair. Larger one there is the male, and then there's a smaller female there in the back. Also added 4 lyre-tail anthias. This one's kind of become the biggest here, and will probably go ahead and become the male. He does have some kind of little fungus thing that's been going on there on his side for the last couple weeks, but it's been looking better the last couple of days. So I know a lot of people will see the tank on Instagram and you think it's all peaches and cream and pretty pictures, but I definitely have my reef drama like everybody else. You know, certain pests and certain, you know, fish diseases that pop up from time to time, and I try not to freak out too much about those things and just deal with them as they come. If you look at that as, because at the end of the day, like I've been in the reef hobby for 20 years, so there aren't as many things that really get me excited the way they used to. I'm always super excited to see something for the first time, but when you've been doing it for so long, all these corals kind of come in waves and stuff, and you've really seen a lot of things. So anytime you get a new issue to tackle, even though it might be frustrating, even though it might be a little sketchy, usually you can end up figuring it out, and that's kind of where I find some of the fun to be anyway. Do have some frag racks going over here, obviously, like most reefers. Run out of real estate in the display and you start hanging things from the walls. Got some Ghanies back here. That is the Reef Lounge Voodoo Child. Can't really pick it up in the shade over there with the camera. But yeah, just some Blastos, some Acans over here. The clowns are now, they've gotten a lot bigger, but they are now in the NEM box over here in the CSB. See the female sticking her head out right there. And then just another rack of Zoas here in the back. Whatever is affecting some of the Zoas down there doesn't seem to be affecting the stuff on the rack here so far. If it is, that's kind of what made me think it might be some kind of pest, because maybe they just haven't made their way up there yet. Especially because it seemed like they started at the top of this rock, have moved their way down, then maybe migrated over here. I'm starting to see the signs in the next closest colonies, so that does make me think some kind of pest, especially because these guys up here haven't been hit yet. So those ones I probably will take and do some kind of dip on if I see any, you know, weird stuff going on. But yeah, other than that, that's pretty much what's going on with the tank. As far as future plans, not really much for this one, you know. In the past, I've always kind of set up a tank. As soon as it starts to get mature, I fill it up and I'm like, okay, time to upgrade, or time to downgrade, or time to move, or time to do something. I've had so many tanks over 20 years of reefing, but I don't know if I've ever kept one up this long, or this is approaching kind of the longest I've kept a tank up. So I'm kind of just excited to let what's in here just kind of mature and grow over time. There are a couple of things that I'm still looking for. Probably add a couple more SPS, just, you know, some higher end stuff up there. Probably throw an OG bounce in here. You know, once you kind of fill things up with, I don't want to say run-of-the-mill corals, but some of the more common stuff, you start going, oh, I have this tiny little piece of real estate here. What would I want to fit there? And then you start looking at kind of the pieces that you didn't go after before, because, you know, you can fill that, you can use that budget to fill so much more real estate. So there's a couple things on my list. Who knows if it'll be anytime soon or down the road, but overall I'm just really happy with where the tank is right now. I've really been enjoying it lately. For a while, obviously I was putting a lot more time into it, trying to fix some of the things that were going on. If you guys follow along on my social media, on the Instagram, you've seen I've been dealing with cyano for a while. Took me about 8 months to finally beat it. Really just had to bring up nutrients. Seemed like that's all it was. For the longest time, I was keeping nitrates around 5 to 10 and keeping phosphates, trying to keep them at 2 or 3, but a lot of times when I was testing with the Hannah, I would end up getting 0. Then I would have to dose, you know, a bunch of Reef Roids and, you know, just feed a bunch. Lately, I've just started feeding the tank a lot more of everything. Nitrates are more around 10 to 15 now, and usually when I'm checking phosphate, it is around 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, but I'm always getting detectable levels now. So I attribute that to just pretty much daily feeding of frozen food, Reef Roids, some other type of LPS pellets. I'm really just trying to put as much food in the tank as possible right now, because it does seem like the tank is just really eating up the nutrients. And, you know, I think that probably attributes to why I'm getting pretty good coral growth on this one. I don't run my pH super high. I'm not really trying to grow things as fast as possible, but my main focus lately has been coloration. So I think I'm going to go ahead and keep on dosing the traces and really not change much as far as what I'm doing right now. Red Sea Blue bucket for the salt. As far as filtration down there, I'm not going to turn the sump light on right now, but I basically just have like an undersized bubble magus skimmer, and I have filter floss that I change out a couple times a week, and that's really all this tank needs for nutrient export at this point. And yeah, things have been smooth sailing for a while, and I'm kind of hoping they stay that way. Other than that, I think that probably does it for this video, guys. Let me know down there in the comments if you guys have any questions or what you want to see on the next video, and I guess I'll see you then.